Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I want to share 20 tips to stop hating cooking if you hate cooking. I don't hate cooking, I do enjoy it sometimes, but it doesn't matter how much I enjoy something, I don't always want to do that thing every single day at the same time. And that is what I have to do with cooking. I have a family that I need to feed, and in my family I'm the one that cooks, and that's just the way it is. And I don't always feel like doing it, and sometimes I really hate it actually and get really resentful about it. But I have actually tried a few different things over the years to stop hating cooking, and this video is my way of consolidating them and reminding myself that I do have options and choices and things to try when I feel resentful about cooking and don't feel like doing it, because we've all got to eat, and I have the most skill at cooking in our home and the most time to cook in our homes. So for the most part it is my job, and I just need to get over it and find ways to do it without hating it. So here are 20 things that help me. Like I said, I'm filming this as a reminder to myself, but I really hope that some of these help you too if you also don't enjoy cooking but need to do it. The first one is a boring one, and that is to meal plan. There's nothing worse than that feeling of, oh crap, it's 4 p.m, dinner time's coming, what am I going to feed these people? If you plan ahead, it's just so much easier, it takes that stress off. I don't enjoy doing meal planning, but things obviously go more smoothly if I do have a plan in place and take the time to do some meal planning. Generally, I just have a list of things that I like to make fairly often, and I'll just pick off that list. Sometimes I ask my family to tell me what to make for the week, and I put the meal planning responsibilities onto their shoulders, and then nobody can complain about what I cook because they got a chance to choose. But either way, having a plan definitely makes a difference. My second tip is to keep a diary of what you make, and then that can actually just become your meal plan, because even if you're flying by the seat of your pants and coming up with something fresh every day with no plan, if you look back, there's your plan. So what did you cook every night last week? That could be your meal plan for next week, and you could just even have like 2 weeks and just rotate them. Keeping a record of what you cook every night can also spark some new ideas. Maybe you made something and then you forgot about it for a few months, and just looking back at what you cooked can give you an idea of something to make that you haven't thought of in a while. My next tip is to prep, and this can be either just gathering your ingredients on a tray. I did that for a while. As part of my morning routine, I would gather all the ingredients I needed for dinner and put it onto this white circular tray on my counter, and then when it came time to cook dinner, everything was right there. Kind of like making my own meal kit, like HelloFresh or one of these services, but I was doing it for myself. Or to actually measure out each ingredient and have them in little bowls and make, I think it's called mise en place, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but to actually chop up your onion and measure out your spices or whatever ahead of time, so that when you go to cook, everything's ready and you can just dump it in and go. I am much more of a morning person than a night person. I have my energy and motivation earlier in the day, and it declines throughout the day. So by the time 5 p.m. comes and I need to think about cooking dinner, I am low in energy and low in motivation. So if I use my energy and motivation that I have in the morning, or even kind of after lunch, to put together the things for dinner, I don't mind doing it as much, and then when I come to cook at the end of the day, it's so much more enjoyable and easier to do because everything's right there, and I can kind of just get stuck in and not have to be pulling out ingredients and chopping things and finding things. It's just all right there. My next tip is to link it to something enjoyable. If you don't enjoy cooking, what do you enjoy that you can link to cooking? Is there some really good music you can listen to, or maybe a podcast? Can you put one of your favorite shows on your iPad or your phone or your laptop and kind of watch or listen to that while you're busy cooking? Do you want to enjoy a couple of squares of delicious chocolate while you're cooking? Or maybe you want a glass of wine, light a special candle that you've been saving. Link something else that you're looking forward to with cooking if you're not looking forward to cooking, and that will make it just more enjoyable to do. My next tip is something that I have learned the hard way and have become aware of, and that is to make myself comfortable before I start cooking. Do I need to put on slippers? Are my feet cold? Do I need to put on comfy clothes? Do I need to switch into a top with shorter sleeves so that I don't have to keep pushing my sleeves up? Do I need to go to the bathroom or have a drink of water? What is making me uncomfortable? Take care of my physical comfort, and then I'm going to enjoy cooking much more. In summer, if I need to go and cook but it's just too hot, maybe I can go and have a cold shower or a swim before I start cooking, and I'll just be more comfortable and resent being in the kitchen less. And obviously the converse goes for winter. If I don't want to be standing around on cold feet, I need to make sure my feet are nice and warm before I go in and start cooking. Taking care of your physical comfort before you start cooking can make actually quite a big difference. Oh, and this also means that sometimes I need to snack before I start cooking. By the end of the day, I'm usually hangry, and having a snack can A, make cooking more enjoyable, but B, also just make me less stressed out or cranky while I'm doing it. Obviously you're hungry by dinner time, that's kind of the point of making dinner, but if that's causing physical discomfort while you're cooking, just having something to snack on can make a difference. My next step is to invest in good tools, and I don't mean spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on loads of gadgets and gizmos, but every single day when you're cooking, you're probably cutting, so invest in a good knife. A nice sharp knife can add so much enjoyment to the process of chopping things up than if you're fighting with a blunt one. Maybe you want to get a really good solid chopping board that brings you pleasure every time you use it. Maybe you've got some really horrible old cheap dented pots and pans, and investing in a really nice solid set that will last you for years and years will add to your enjoyment of cooking. Think about the tools you use when you're cooking and get ones that work properly and that you enjoy using. My next two tips are kind of in contrast to each other. So this one is try a new recipe now and again. Maybe part of why you don't enjoy cooking is because you're just bored of the things that you're making over and over again, same old favorites, and it's just tedious and repetitive. Trying a new recipe might spice things up and spark your enjoyment and interest in cooking again. So take some time to look through some recipes, to put the ingredients onto your shopping list, to make sure that you have everything, and then go for it and try a new recipe, see how it comes out, and see if that helps you to enjoy cooking more. And like I said, in contrast to that, my next tip is to forget about trying newfangled recipes, just do your old favorites. Maybe it's a little bit stressful to you to be constantly trying new things and not knowing if you're going to enjoy the food or not knowing how to cook it, having to kind of read the steps as you go through because you're not familiar with it. And maybe you'd enjoy cooking more if you just rotated through a few old favorites that you can cook on autopilot and not spend too much time thinking about, and it's just easy for you to do. I've done both over the years. I kind of switch between just rotating through a few old favorites and trying new recipes. And the advantage of the old favorites is that you know your family's going to eat it and nobody's going to complain, hopefully. So swings and roundabouts, whichever one works for you, but there's two different tips to think about. My next tip is to subscribe to a meal kit service. I didn't do this for years. I knew they existed. I kind of heard about them. And then I decided to try a few different meal kit subscription services to make a video comparing them, which I will link over here. And since then, we've actually gone back to HelloFresh, which kind of surprised me after doing that video. But that's the one that we've used the most. It doesn't matter which kit you subscribe to. If you find one that works for you, that can be a way of increasing your enjoyment with cooking. You're trying new different things that you might not have thought of. You don't have to worry about meal planning. You don't have to worry about buying the ingredients or being able to find the ingredients. It's all just delivered to you. There's different options you can go for, like family meals or gourmet meals or low fat or vegan or whatever. You can choose your frequency, so it doesn't have to be for the whole week. It might just be that you want to treat yourself to 1 or 2 meals out of the week that come from a meal kit subscription service. But it definitely increased my enjoyment of cooking, even though I don't use them consistently. I kind of use them now and again, but it is something that I recommend to try. My next tip is to make your own meal kits. So when you're doing your meal planning and then you're doing your shopping, if you just lay out each meal for the week, all the ingredients into a little bowl or basket, and pop that basket or bag or box or whatever into your fridge, then you don't have to worry about the daily, what do I make for dinner, and then pulling all the ingredients together. You do it once a week and then you can just pull it out of the fridge, and then you've got your own kind of meal kit subscription that you've made for yourself. So for example, maybe I plan my meals on a Sunday, do my grocery shop on a Monday, and then Monday afternoon put Monday night's dinner's stuff together in one basket in the fridge, Tuesday night stuff together in another basket. You see where I'm going with this. And then each day just pull out that basket, everything's done, prepared for you by yourself. And it's just a no-brainer that you just don't have to think about it throughout the week. It's all done in one go. My next step is to make a meal kit and swap it with a friend. I actually did this with a couple of YouTubers who live about an hour away from me. We each made meal kits for each other, and I will link that video over here. That was so much fun to do, and I really want to do another one. I think it's overdue for us to do another one, but that was a lot of fun to kind of give each other our dietary requirements, and then each find a recipe and collect all of the ingredients and make a little meal kit for each other. And you could do this, you know, with your best friend, with a neighbor, whatever. It was so much fun for me to do, and I highly recommend it. You could also just meal swap with a friend. So let's say you're making lasagna on Monday and your friend is making a curry. What if you each just made twice as much and then swapped half of that with each other, and so you have lasagna on Monday that you've made, and on Tuesday you have curry that your friend made. So you just cook double once, but you have 2 different meals. You could obviously expand that out and, you know, make multiple meals or whatever. If you just cook double and then swap with a friend, you're still getting the variety, but you're still only having to cook once. Or just do it for yourself. If you're making lasagna, make 2 lasagnas, or if you're cooking, you know, whatever it is, just make twice as much. Even if it's just the, you know, browning the ground beef part of the recipe, do twice as much as you need and then freeze the rest. And that can help so much on those days where you just exhausted, or you've been really busy, or you haven't planned ahead and you are stuck at the end of the day going, what on earth do I cook? You can pull something out of the freezer, and even if it's just, like I said, a pre-prepared ingredient, that's half the work done. But if you are making a bigger meal like a casserole or something, it's really hardly any more extra work to just make twice as much, and then you've got a whole meal that you can put into the freezer or into the fridge if you don't mind eating the same thing for a week, like every single night for a week. Just cook extra when you are cooking and you'll save yourself more work in the future. My next tip is to grow your own food. As you guys know, I've got quite a big garden and quite a big vegetable garden, lots of raised beds, and in the summer especially I grow lots of our food. I grow heaps of tomatoes, all kinds of different things. I'm not going to list them all, but when you are growing your own food and you've seen it grow from a teeny tiny seed into this big plant that's producing food, it's so exciting and so rewarding, and you don't want that to go to waste. You don't want to just be like, oh yeah, that was great, pick your produce, it's going rotten because you've left it, you know, sitting outside and you haven't picked it, and then throw it away. You're not going to do that if you've put time and effort into it. It also kind of takes some of the guesswork out of what do I cook. You cook what's growing, you cook what's ready to harvest. So growing your own food definitely makes cooking more rewarding and enjoyable. It's so satisfying to go out and pick things that you've grown and then cook with them. There's no other feeling of virtue quite like it. My next tip is to cook with a friend or a family member helping you. So maybe you haven't had time to have one-on-one time with one of your kids. Get them to come and even just sit with you while you're cooking, even if they're not helping. Or maybe you and your partner haven't had a lot of time together. Spend some time in the kitchen while you're busy cooking. You can chat while you're stirring a sauce or whatever you're doing, or have a friend come over and hang out while you're busy cooking, or cook together with them and then kind of split the meal. Just spending some time with somebody else while you're cooking can make it more enjoyable and can feel less like the burden is just, for me anyway, it feels less like the burden is just all on my shoulders if somebody else in my family gets involved and spends time with me while I'm doing it. My next tip is to remember to think about what you're making for dinner the day before, or at least the morning before. There's nothing worse than come 4 or 5 p.m. thinking, oh, I've got to cook dinner, and then nothing's defrosted, nothing's prepared, you haven't even thought about it. But even if you don't have a meal plan, just try and think about what you're going to cook ahead of time. I have a morning routine checklist, an afternoon routine checklist, and also one for the evening. And on my morning and my afternoon ones is dinner prep. So in the morning I need to think about, what am I making for dinner? Is there something I need to defrost or take out of the freezer? Is there anything I need to go and buy today because I just don't have that ingredient for the meal I've got planned? I've just got to think about it in the morning. And then in the afternoon, it's again on my checklist, my routine checklist. I need to spend some time gathering some ingredients or preparing so that when I go to cook, it's just easier and more enjoyable. But having the reminders on my checklist, or having an alarm on my phone reminding me to do it, or putting a note to myself on the fridge, it just lifts so much pressure when it comes time to cook, because I've reminded myself to think about it ahead of time. I cook dinner every single day. Every single day. These people want feeding. It's not a surprise, and yet sometimes it can feel like a surprise, and it just helps to think about it ahead of time. It also helps me to just kind of get into the mindset, so I'm not having to make this big switch of like going about my day, doing all these things, or suddenly I have to go into cooking mode. If I've thought about it ahead of time and decided what I'm going to make, I'm already halfway there. My next tip is to clean as you go. Now, I'm a creative person, and when I'm busy doing any kind of craft project or creating in those sorts of ways, I just leave chaos behind me. But I'm really good about cleaning up after myself while I'm cooking, because there's so many kind of downtimes during cooking. So let's say you've diced up an onion and the recipe says to saute the onion for 5 or 6 minutes while it browns. You're not going to necessarily be continuously stirring for 5 or 6 minutes. You'll give it a bit of a stir, let it cook. You'll come back, give it a bit of a stir, let it cook. And in those times where you're just letting it cook, put some things into the dishwasher, wipe down the counter, wash the knife that you've just chopped the onion with. It makes such a difference if you finish cooking and your kitchen's pretty much clean. You're gonna hate cooking if you know it's gonna end up with your kitchen being a disaster and a big mess for you to clean up later after you've had your meal and you've relaxed. Now you've got to face all of this chaos in the kitchen. So really try to clean as you go, to just do little things while you're cooking so that you're not leaving a big mess behind you. In my family, I do the cooking, and then Grant and Noah do the cleaning of the kitchen, or Daniel as well if he's home. And so I don't have to clean the kitchen, and I just think it's a respect issue as well, that it's just more respectful to clean as I go than to think, well, they've got nothing better to do than clean up after me after I cook dinner and just leave chaos for them to come and tackle after. So when they clean up the kitchen, generally if I've cooked, they don't have much to do. Just load the dishwasher, wipe down the counters, whatever. Cleaning as you go definitely does make a difference. My next tip is a bit of reframing. Think about what a wonderful gift this meal that you're creating actually is. The food you put into your body literally forms your body. You know that saying, we are what you eat. You are creating something and gifting it to maybe just yourself, or maybe your family members or your roommates or whoever you're cooking for, and just think about what a gift that is and what a special experience that is, that you can put something together with your hands and that people actually put that into their bodies and it becomes a part of them. Like, I know that sounds like very like weird and woo-woo, but when you really think about it, it becomes more than just, oh, I have to cook again tonight. It's a real act of service and can be a real act of love, and reframing it can help you feel differently about doing it. And on that note, tip number 19 is to practice gratitude. Try to really not take for granted the things that you have. The fact that you have running water and you have electricity and you have a kitchen to cook in and you've been able to afford to buy food makes you privileged, makes you more privileged than a lot of people in this world. And just focusing on the things that you can be grateful for in the situation, rather than like, oh, I have to cook again tonight. Maybe saying, I get to cook again tonight. I get to have food in my fridge and people to share that food with, and you know, maybe even the skills to cook. Focusing on gratitude can also change how you feel about cooking. And then my last tip, tip number 20, is one that I admit I haven't tried, but I would really like to, and that is just to hire someone else to do it for you. If you really hate cooking that much, maybe just consider outsourcing the problem. Even if it's, you know, one of your kids or family member, maybe you can pay them to do it or ask them to do it, or just get a professional to come and do it for you. Life is too short to dread and hate something that you have to do every single day. So maybe this isn't, you know, something that you could employ every single day. Oh, I now have a personal chef and I just pay them to cook all my meals. But maybe it is something you can treat yourself to now and again. Okay, that last one was kind of tongue-in-cheek. It's not really something that's going to feature in my life, but I wanted to include it because for some people that is an option. Just hire someone else to do it. So I hope you enjoyed those tips and that you found some of them helpful. I do want to apologize for the noise, the garden tools that people are using in the neighborhood very inconsiderately, and also the inconsiderate sun that keeps going in and out behind the clouds. But anyway, I hope you got the message of my video and that some of it at least was helpful, and that they perhaps tips that you can use or a different way of thinking about things. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.